Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 285 of a year of change. We only have 15 days left. We have a little over 2 weeks before day 300, which is a little weird. That's not what I want to talk about today. It just sort of dawned on me as I was saying 285, it's only 15 days away from day 300. So, yay. I don't know what I'm going to do, if anything, for it. We should have a little celebration just to say because it's another milestone. 300 days is pretty good. So, but then it feels like it's sort of at the end because we aren't going to hit, we will in private, but the videos aren't going to go past, it's never going to go to 400, which is kind of weird. I will be continuing on with another series, so it's not going to be daily, but it'll be another series. Anyway, the thing I wanted to talk about today, there's a news story that's been going around for the past couple of weeks, and it's sort of an annual thing that happens anyway, but for some reason, people have really taken notice of it here, and it's just every year, they usually go through and say, okay, food's going to go up by this much, and then they sort of break it down into fruits and vegetables and meat and all the other stuff. And generally, it goes up by anywhere between 2 and 5%. So, but for some reason, everyone is really latching onto this. And I don't know if it's a matter of, people are a little more health conscious right now, or if it's just simply because it's a slow news day and they're saying we need to sort of get people panicking about this. But everyone is really sort of freaking out about the fact that food is going to be going up again. And overall, you're looking at probably, on average, anywhere between 3 and 4% for food. So it's another $300 or $400 a month, I think, somewhere around there, they say, for the average household. Per year, not per grocery order. That would be horrible. But per year, about another $300 or $400. The thing is, though, and this is the only part that really is sort of, that stands out for me, and it's something that they really should have been focusing on more than just saying, oh, food's going up and you're going to be spending much more, is that the food that's actually going up, it's like pizza, frozen pizza isn't going up. Cakes aren't going up. Cookies and candies and gummies, sour gummies better not go up. But all the gummy bears and all the junk food, basically, that's not the food that's going up. They're talking about real food. So raw meat, unprocessed stuff, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, all that stuff. Those are the ones that are going up. And it's nothing new. Like I say, this happens every year. Right now, they're looking at anywhere between 2 and 4% for meat, I think. So, of course, everyone is up in arms about it. But this year, it went up 5% from the year before. So, I guess people sort of freak out at something and they don't take it into they don't have any perspective on it. They don't look back and go, it's been going up 3 and 4% per year for the past 5 years or whatever. Granted, going up by 10% over 2 years, and it's a little bit more than 10 if it goes 5 and 5, but by going up, 10% over a year, that is a substantial jump. And this is when it becomes difficult to really sort of not point some of the blame towards food manufacturers at this point. I understand that, we've looked at how much water it takes to grow a head of lettuce and how much land is taken up. It takes up so much land to grow real food and produce and stuff like that, that we're getting to a point where we're actually, oddly enough, polluting everything because we're trying to grow fresh food. And meat and everything else. But it's difficult to look at it and say, there's that. Obviously the demand isn't really there the same way it is for cookies and cakes and stuff like that. When something is super, super cheap to produce, it doesn't take up a lot of resources. The most that you're probably going to be paying are the wages to the people that are actually making it. And even that, everything's sort of mixed in a vat. So it is kind of difficult to say, well, it shouldn't be going up when you look at the fact that, the costs aren't going down. And where we're sort of, I can get fresh tomatoes in the middle of winter, which, we don't have tomatoes here in the middle of winter. Neither do you, most people, anyway, they're watching. No matter where you are, if you're, it's turning summer for some people, and then it's winter for us right now. So, but everything is just, where we ship everything everywhere, there is a cost associated with that. So I understand that. I get that. It's just the fact that it's steadily going up, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it. In my head, I want to be able to say things like, well, give a tax cut for people that are eating healthier and, tax the sugary things and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's going to alleviate it. I don't know if it's going to be something that is going to promote people, eating healthier and getting rid of stuff. Because then you get people saying, don't tell me how to eat. We aren't telling you how to eat. We're just saying that, we talked about this before, a long time ago. that we are a drain on the medical system. So, or health system, I should say, because medical system sounds kind of weird. But like I'm still a drain on the health system. I don't often go, but the majority of issues that I would have if I'm going to the hospital, I mean, we pretty much have free healthcare here in Canada anyway, that if I do go, I can go to the hospital tonight and say, you know what, I want you to run a whole slew of tests. Get your doctor to sign you up for a whole bunch of stuff and say, we're going to go through the top, through the bottom, we're going to do x-rays and MRIs and CAT scans, and we're going to throw you in for 8 hours of steady tests and everything else, just because you think my elbow feels funny. You can do that. We can walk out. It doesn't cost us a thing. Because that's what our taxes are going towards. And I don't mind paying 15% sales tax on everything if it means I get to do that. But I mean, sort of getting off topic here. I am still a drain on the health system, because any issues that I would have that I would be going to the hospital for the most part, are going to be related to me just being overweight. So back issues and heart problems, lung problems, joint pain, all that stuff is related to being obese. And so, yes, I think I should be paying my fair share. So you can say, well, we should be paying a little bit more on sugar and, hike the tax on it by 50%. It doesn't matter. People are still going to buy it. They're still going to pay for it. But it's difficult to try to say, well, do this and this is what's going to work. Or do that. This is going to, that and that's going to work. Because, I mean, obviously you don't have the answers for it. But when you're looking at, regular food constantly rising and all the junk food and, stuff that's really, really cheap and just horrible for us keeps going down, you can go into a store. I went into a store, when was the last time I was in one? Some point this week anyway, where you can go in and to get a loaf of bread is like $3.50 or $4 for their homemade bread. All right. Regular bread, if you want whole wheat bread, that's what you're going to be paying, $3 or $4. The same store, you can buy 2 12-packs of cakes, like the little snack cakes, and you get 2 of them for $6. And sometimes they're on sale for 2 of them for $5. So, of course, people are going to be going for stuff like that. I mean, number one, we crave the salt and the sugar and the fat and everything else. It's so much cheaper to get stuff, like, compared to just a regular loaf of bread, as opposed to, 2 boxes of cakes, so 24 little cupcake things. I mean, yes, it's very difficult. Again, I'm not trying to point blame, because right from day one, we've always accepted this is our responsibility. We are the reason why we are the way that we are. But there are some things that are contributing factors to it. Things that when you have $10 to spend for groceries and you're saying, this is what I have to last me for a week. I mean, common sense should say, okay, well, I should get real food that's going to, sustain me and be healthier in the long run. It's going to keep me fuller longer. But really, when you look at it, you go, well, I can bring out 1 bag of I'm just going to say groceries, vegetables, for $10. Or I can get 3 bags of, processed meat that's just going to be, horrible for me, but it'll last me for the week. Of course, it's going to be a little bit easier to do that. So I don't have any answers, obviously. We've talked about this many, many times, and my head was itchy. Sorry. We've talked about this a lot, and although I'm a big proponent for the sugar tax across the board, anything junk food or, sugary drinks and stuff like that, hike the tax way up. And it's not just because I've sort of cut back on it. I was the same way when I was smoking, that I never complained about the price of cigarettes, because we're paying, it's a little more expensive up in Canada to get, well, when I was smoking anyway, a 20 or 25 pack, even now, it's somewhere between $10 and $15 per pack. So, but that's the price that you pay. If you want to do that, it's bad for you. It's going to cause a whole slew of health problems. You're a drain on the health system. All of that, that's where your money goes. I mean, part of it's going to go to the tobacco companies. That's fine. That's their product. We know how bad it is. Everyone has always known how bad it is. So, fine. Say what you want about them, but it's a product. It's a shitty product, but we love it. We want to go after it. We buy it. There you go. But the tax that's on it, I think there's somewhere around 50% of the price of cigarettes in Canada is tax. And I think if they did that with a lot of the junk food as well, then yes, people are going to cut back. They're still going to be buying, processed foods and things that maybe aren't as healthy for them as they should be. But it would hopefully curb at least a little bit, like the cookies and the cakes and everything else. Even if they said, you can still buy it, it doesn't count if it's at like a bakery. If you go to a bakery and stuff like that, that they don't get billed for it, which is obviously the ins and outs and everything, or logistics of it. There's the word I was looking for. Going to be a little weird, but it's something that I think that people should look at. But my point to all this, by the way, I know I was going to start talking about the raising of food, but when you're looking at real food, not to say that to be snobbish or snooty or prudish or an asshole. It's just a matter of that's how I view it. It's not because, well, that isn't real food. I just mean like what you would consider food in a food group as opposed to packaged food or junk food and stuff like that. When there's such a disparity in price between the two of them, obviously, yes, we're going to go for what we can afford. And I think that contributes a lot to us being obese. And I mean, the sugar tax has worked in Mexico. They're really striving for it in the UK. I think it should be something that should be brought here. But I wish that there was something that we could do to sort of stimulate that real food, that produce and fruit and vegetables and fresh meat and all that stuff. Because aside from the people that are buying stuff just for pretentiousness, is that a word? Pretension? For the sake of pretension. When they say, well, I'm going to buy, aged, happy, organic Kobe beef for $500 a pound. It's a cow. You don't need that to begin with. And you can say, oh, it tastes so much better. I'm sure it probably does because you're spending a shit ton of money on it. But what I'm talking about are, I don't know if subsidies or, a lot of farming is subsidized anyway. I think part of it is that the demand simply isn't there. I mean, they're still producing the same amount, but when we looked at supermarkets that were throwing their food away and that I think it was France, they started to force them to donate to food kitchens and homeless shelters and things like that, which I think is an amazing idea. But when you're looking at, half of your produce is thrown away, the stores are still buying it. We aren't buying it, but they still have to stock everything up. And then we'll go through and say, well, they bought 20 of these, bunches of bananas, but you're only going to sell 2 or 3 because, that one has a brown spot, so no one's going to buy it. And then that brown spot just gets bigger, and then no one bothers to buy it, so they end up throwing it out. So when you're still buying a ton of product, but you're throwing half of it away, of course the price is still going to stay high. If it was a matter of, I'm hoping anyway, that everyone was eating, a whole bunch of stuff, the way that we do, the way that we have those cravings with snacks and cookies and cakes and gummies and salty foods and cheesy snacks and all the other stuff, if we were hardwired, evolutionarily speaking, to crave the fruits and vegetables and, fresh food, stuff like that, I think it would be very, very different. But we aren't. Our bodies are designed to store as much fat as quickly as possible because that's how we've always, that's how we've been raised. But essentially, that's how we've been raised. For the past 500,000 years, that's what we've been doing, is we've been struggling tooth and nail. And it's just really been recently where we have this overabundance of high-fat, high-calorie foods with sugar and salt and everything else. And our bodies are just like, no, keep it coming because this is what we crave. So anyway, yes, again, going off topic, I'm trying to talk about food prices rising. This happens every year, but the main story seems to be focusing on how terrible it is that it's going up. And I wish there was some way that we could alleviate it because, again, it's the what I would consider to be healthier foods that are rising in price. And, it's all over the place. It's not just 4% across the board. I think meat is going up anywhere between 3 and 4%. Seeds and nuts go up 2 to 3%, and then things like grains and fruits and vegetables, they go up 3 or 5%. And it's disheartening. It is disheartening, I should say, when you're looking at that and thinking, I wish there was something that could be done just to sort of, because I think if the price lowered, I think people would start eating healthier. It's not just about the cravings, and it's not just about buying, candy and junk food and everything else. I think that the money does have a lot to do with it. And because obesity and poverty sort of go poverty is a good way to put it. Obesity and poverty sort of go hand in hand, as odd as that sounds. And we've seen it so many times that in general, the closer you are to the poverty line, then the fatter you get. You can buy 5 hamburgers for $1 in some places, in some fast food places. So of course, why wouldn't you do that? The time investment really was our main investment throughout this whole journey. Hate using that term, but it's the only one I can think of right now. But there is, and I never wanted it to get to a point where you're buying organic hummus and you're spending $500 for, food that's just ridiculous that you don't need to. But we understood that in general, there are a few things that, are going to be more expensive than the junk food. And I mean, some of them are way out there. You can get a big 12-inch frozen pizza for $4 in general at the store where I am. But in general, it's not as bad. If you're preparing stuff at home, then the prices sort of even out. But when you see something like this about the prices going up every year, and then usually they just sort of go back and say, well, it also went up the year before that, and the year before that. Meanwhile, the junk food is, if it's not going down, it's at least staying the same. They aren't raising the price on that because all they do is find cheaper ways to produce it, and they can still sell it for the same amount of money because they know everybody's buying it. We are the fattest nation in the world, pretty much. We are one of the fattest nations in the world. The reason isn't because, we just simply don't have enough money. That's not it. It's because we crave those things. They know that. This is why they put that stuff out there. Even like breakfast cereals and things like that. They pump it full of sugar so that it tastes good. I mean, we've run through that as well, trying to find a happy medium there. So I don't have any answers, obviously. And I don't even know what the point of this was. Just to sort of, it was just something I sort of wanted to rant about, I guess. And I understand that the prices of food, they have to go up. The price of food. Prices. My plurals are all over the fucking place, aren't they? So prices of foods have to go up. I understand that. It's the nature of things that, that's a good show. You should watch it. It's the nature of the business that, the price is definitely, the price is going to go up. The production is going to increase because the demand is there, but it's not from us, I don't think. I think the demand is there for stores and things like that they ship out as much as they can. And we've seen how much that the supermarkets and things actually throw it away. So I kind of went off the rails with that topic. Anyway, I don't want to visit that again because otherwise I'm just going to start repeating myself. Anyway, my main point to this whole thing, and I keep coming back to it and saying my main point, and then I don't give it, was that it's just a news story that's it's come back 2 or 3 times over the past month. And generally, I think it's just because it's the end of the year, but it seems to be a little more in the forefront than it has in the past. And it might just simply be because I'm sort of on the lookout for stuff like this. But it came back around again yesterday morning. And so I thought I should bring it up. So I will put a link in the description below to a story just to sort of give you a little bit of an idea. It'll show you the history of food going up and things like that. And you'll see it's not really the junk food that's doing it or even really processed food. But fresh food is what's going up. And on one hand, I kind of understand because it's a different market. They aren't pumping it full of preservatives so that it can sit on a shelf for a year. It's got a finite time where that it can actually be fresh and consumable. So, and if it doesn't even look right, then we aren't going to buy it. So they chuck it. So, I mean, they have to take all that loss into account when they're selling it as well. Because if you're only selling half of your product, then you have to jack the price, so it's twice the price of what it should be. So, I know, it's a little disconcerting, a little depressing, and makes you a little angry, and slightly sleepy, and a bit damp. Anyway, yeah, I don't really know what my point was, just kind of wanted to vent for a bit. But it was an interesting story, nonetheless. So I'll put a link down in the description so you can take a look at it. Looking at it, there it is, you can see it. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video.